A spiritual journey. Seeking a God of our understanding is a personal experience, but we need to know we are not alone in our search. There is a part of this that is very private, unspeakable in a wonderful way. There are times when we must walk alone with our higher power. As we study the traditions, we learn that nothing which affects our personal recovery is an outside issue, and also that our unity must come first. These spiritual principles are not in conflict, but it might take some thought or prayer to reconcile them. When we are living spiritually, awareness and empathy guide us in our recovery and in our sharing. In the 11th step, we ask for the power to carry out God's will for us. In that spirit, we may ask for the words we need to talk about our experience without creating separation or disunity around us. We need to be able to open up about our journey. It doesn't matter so much what names we give the markers along that road. When we learn to share about our feelings and experiences without naming names, we discover the freedom anonymity has to offer us. We may be surprised at how much we have in common with others who seem to be on very different spiritual paths. When we begin to see the things our journeys have in common, we find that our differences really can help us along the way, instead of creating barriers between us. It can be difficult to express our spiritual experience in words. Because we are talking about things unseen, concrete language usually falls short of what we experience, and the language we have to talk about our spiritual experiences with is often borrowed from other places. It takes practice to make it our own. When we are struggling to find words for our experience, the last thing we need is to be told we are doing it wrong. We listen to one another with an open mind and an open heart, and we share our experience with the understanding that it won't necessarily be shared by everyone. In the same spirit, we understand that it's hard for other people to share about this too, and that sometimes we are going to hear things that ask us to be objective and non-judgmental. We each find a way to surrender, but that does not mean we all come to believe in God. Many of our members have been clean for years as atheists. For some of us, coming to believe that NA can accommodate our atheism has itself been a leap of faith. We are welcome no matter what we believe. NA has no opinion on how our members define or practice spirituality. Our individual challenge is to find a definition of spirituality that makes sense to us. By listening carefully and with an open mind to a range of members' opinions and experiences, we form our own understanding that we can use in our own recovery. A member shared, "I didn't hear anyone talking about atheism as a legitimate path in recovery, but I accepted that. I did with spirituality what I was learning to do with other aspects of the program. I took what I needed and left the rest behind. Over the years, I have accepted that other people's ideas about spirituality, ethics, and God are much different from my own. Part of the strength and beauty of NA is that there is room for all of us. What others call spiritual principles, I call ethical principles. Whatever they are called, the principles and the steps and traditions lead us away from active addiction, self-centeredness, and fear. When we help someone who is struggling, we break free from our own self-obsession. When we give back, we cannot be greedy. We have found no limit to the possibilities of recovery for any member who practices the principles of NA, whether we call these principles spiritual or not. For some of us, the spiritual is simply the unseen or the intangible. Each of us has a complete autonomy and anonymity in whatever concept we find for ourselves. The phrase, "as we understand him," can be a sticking point for many of us. We do not have to understand or accept a higher power in order to live spiritually. No one else has the right to judge that or tell us our beliefs are right or wrong. What is important is that we are willing to accept one another's experience with an open mind and to share our experience without an effort to persuade one another of what is right or true. What keeps one of us clean might not work for someone else. We simply share what works for us. Being open-minded about our own beliefs, as well as those of others, frees us from the traps we set in our own minds. We can see our spirituality making a difference in our lives when we do the right thing for the right reason. This is what our basic text calls goodwill. We are able to listen to the voice inside instead of all the chatter around us. When we get tangled up in our differences and reservations, it's easy to forget why we bother with spirituality and NA. The basic text reminds us simply that we ease the pain of living through spiritual principles. Addicts feel life so acutely, and it's often this pain that drives us to use, even when we know it won't actually make it better. We have been willing to trade even a moment's relief for a lifetime of hardship. Surviving our own lives seems impossible when we get here, but we learn, gradually, to face reality and to make friends with the truth. The spiritual principles we practice help to take the edge off that pain, and the more we practice, the more we find that those principles are the keys to freedom. Our lives get easier as we get clean in all our affairs. As we practice honesty, integrity, and fidelity, we no longer have to keep track of our stories or cover our tracks. We may be surprised to find that it is actually easier to live this way. We can love our lives, find joy in being alive, and face the world with genuine excitement. Just as we get fleeting glimpses of God's will for us, we get fleeting glimpses of our own spirituality. Our spiritual condition is always changing. All too often, we think we are unspiritual because our conscious contact comes and goes, or because we still have unkind thoughts, or because we still act out in ways we wish we didn't, even after many years clean. When we fall short, it doesn't mean that we are not spiritual. It means we are human. After all, if we never fall short, we couldn't practice our 10th step. Giving ourselves permission to be human means that we allow ourselves room to keep growing. We are living spiritually long before we know that's what we're doing. Spirituality is a relationship with reality. As we develop our spiritual lives, we find that reality becomes less frightening and less rigid. We learn to live with our freedom. We come to see that a change in our perspective can totally shift the way we understand our situation. When our lives are based in spirituality, our perceptions and responses are based in an ever-evolving relationship to something greater than ourselves. Self-obsession gives way to humility. We understand that we are not the main character in every play, but that our supporting efforts can make a real difference in the lives of those around us. As our spirituality develops, we become increasingly grateful for our lives and the people in them. The more good we can see in the world around us, the more grateful we become for the power that brings us to that awareness. When our bodies, minds, and spirits are in harmony, our lives show the difference. We are able to live in balance.